gentlemen, it is time for prize fighters, circus freaks, and gangsters. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Greta.
And today we are discussing Season 2, Episode 3 of the amazing TV show Warrior. And it is titled Not How We Do Business, because
everybody is up to some bad business in this episode.
Everybody against everybody. It's Knives Out. Everybody has their backs to a wall, and they're stabbing at each other in the dark. It's psychosis. This is not how people should operate.
And yet they're out there flexing their comedy writing muscles, because there were several moments in this episode where once again I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, I look forward to finding out which, because I came to find in this episode that a lot of the lines and the characters themselves are improv.
Really?
The producer and the stunt coordinators allowed the characters to develop their characters themselves. So a new character that we see today was mostly invented, or just like the entire character was this man's personal invention, which I find very cool.
Okay. Okay. That's why he was so identifiable to me anyway. Like, that was somebody really doing that instead of, like, being badly written that way. Okay.
Yes.
So, let us open up once again in the fight pit with the dramatic lighting. Like, this is, once again, a comic book frame.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely looks like, again, like it's right out of the Sherlock Holmes movies, like Guy Ritchie is directing it. And it's just Assam getting a win so easy that he is befuddled by its easiness. He's confused.
Yeah. No, the color was fun. They had, like, the red blood and the blue light in the back. I was just like, this is beautiful. But, yeah, it was just like, well, dusting his hands off. Like, that was that. And Lope Vega she is not happy because this is losing her money at this point. Yeah,
well, it's tough when you have one of those fighters who just trashes everybody and there's nobody. You have trouble finding people to fight them, and you also have trouble finding people to bet on them because nobody wants to bet against this person who's run through all these people, and that's the problem she's having. And she even says to him, like, unless you want to take a dive, you're going to have to find someplace else to fight because nobody wants to fight you. And he's like, well, I'm obviously not going to do that. And then she throws himself at him, and he's like, I'm obviously not going to do that either.
Oh, yeah. No, the cliches were flying thick and fast. And then, just as per usual, just batting them away and turning them to the side. It was a lot of fun. So you always give me a hard time about my G-rated references. But Lope Vega, because, again, had a boy in the 2000s, and I was like getting Pokemon flashbacks. It's like, look, Ash, your guy is overpowered for this gym. Move up to the next gym.
She said she knew a place with 10 times the person, way better fighters. And he's like, nah, which kind of shoots my theory of he's using this to train for loooong round 2. I guess maybe he's not. Now he's just using it to work out his frustrations on the world or something.
Yeah, we both thought that. I don't know. And also, like, it is confusing because he's not using it for the nobility. He's not using it for the cash. And a couple of times I was like, say it's for the cash. Like, that would make a cover at least. But no, he's going to do inscrutable instead, I guess.
I guess. At this point, I feel like he's just kind of Frank Castle. And he's just out there, like, every time he punches into somebody's face, he's just, like, taking out his hatred for the world on that criminal or whatever,
Yeah. Great work by the writers closing a loop here, because Wong Chow walks into the bar and he's speaking Spanish. And I was like, oh, right, he was a slave in Cuba. Aha!
Oh, I hadn't picked up on that. I just, because he's a man who knows everybody and, trades with everybody, he would be a man who would know 10 languages. I mean, this guy's going to continue to surprise us. If a Dutch person shows up, he's going to speak fluent Dutch. He's a guy who knows everything.
Yeah, and that was my first thought, but I was like, wait a second. There's something from the past here. So he probably learned Spanish before he learned English.
That's true. But as a man who knows everything, he also knows about Happy Jack being the new source for opium for the Tong.
That was a great thing. But then I was really confused because he's talking to Assam and he's like, I know about your opium thing, which like is supposed to be super, super secret. And then yet Wang Chao seems to be implying he doesn't know that Mai Ling is his sister.
Yeah, that was I got that too. I was like, wait a minute, but he has to know, but maybe that's not well known. Maybe they just know that they know each other.
Yeah, because like at the fight, it was sort of implied, but maybe some like that's a piece of information that doesn't really apply to business, and so that's possibly the kind of information that Wang Chao wouldn't have picked up on.
I don't know. This is a man who knows that every little bit of information he has on everybody is leverage. So he probably just missed it somehow. But he does. Yeah, and he does warn him that like this problem you have with Mai Ling is going to hurt everybody. It is not about you two. It's not about the two tongs. It's about everybody in Chinatown will suffer if you two assholes keep doing this. And he's like, yeah whatever, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. No, Assam is definitely doing his own emotional thing in his head, and we're not privy to his secrets.
He's just being a petulant child. He's just mad.
Yes!
He's just mad. I'm mad. That's it. Why are you doing that? I'm mad. That's why.
I'm mad. He's again, Andrew Koji, not this age, but he's doing a very good, I'm 22 and fuck off.
Man, I hear of people online, like getting into the comments and dragging Margot Robbie and being like, why are you using this stupid fake British accent when you're on interviews? Just use your normal accent. And
She's Australian!
I have to think that, like, a lot of people think that about Andrew Koji, too. Because when I see him in an outtake, I'm like, I feel like I've been slapped. I'm like, who the fuck is that talking? Oh my god, that's Andrew Koji. I expect somebody who looks like James Bond. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, he kind of does in his own way, but maybe that's just me.
Well, to this point, James Bond has only been a white man, so...
That's true. But yeah. I would 100% buy Andrew Koji as James Bond, just popping up in Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah, especially as the new style, perpetually enraged James Bond, who's not even suave anymore. He's just, like, trying not to slap every woman who comes near him. Like, where Sean Connery just out and out slapped him, he got it over with and he could smile. Not this guy. And, what's his name? It doesn't matter. He just is pissed. He's pissed.
Just brooding all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of brooding darkness, Mai Ling walks into Zing's place where he's doing the power move. I'll just be chatting with you while my mostly naked lady's giving me more tats.
Yeah, and they're doing the traditional tapping tattoo.
Tap, tap, tap.
Which, if this had actually been going on, it would have been a real flex for him to demonstrate no, like, recognition of pain while he's having this conversation, getting, like, all these little needles stabbed into his skin. But this scene was phenomenal because... Like, I genuinely don't give a shit what they talked about, because it didn't really matter. They were just like, blah, blah, blah. I didn't order the Sway Sing Massacre, whatever. But they drank kumis. Kumis!
Yes!
Yes. To seal the deal, they drank kumis, which I have not had. I have had aki, which is milk vodka. But kumis, I will admit, I hate yogurt, and I passed on kumis. Do you want to explain what kumis is? Have you had it?
I would love to explain what kumis is. So they go, okay, it's mare's milk, and hey, they're in a town with a lot of horses. Mare's milk, totally a thing they could have gotten.
And it's in a rusty-looking ladle, and it is lumpy, and there are chunks of stuff in it, and it is like bubbling. It looks as unappetizing as a thing could possibly look. Chunks of pink stuff. I'm not talking about chunks of milk. I'm talking about there are pink. I don't know what that is, but. And now,
okay, so what's going on is, yes, so it is mare's milk, and because they're the Mongols, they would be milking horses rather than milking cows most commonly.
Yep. You can milk anything with nipples.
You can, and there is pig milking out there, but ugh.
Is there really pig milk?
Yeah. When I was researching my episodes for, like, 17th century dairy. I was like, so what other dairies are there out there? And so there's like camel, of course, which is pretty common, and goat and sheep, and llama. But then there's moose dairies out there in like Finland and Russia. And in America, somebody had done some like novelty pig cheese.
I feel like that's the favorite drink of serial killer. Like Australian serial killers, they have that whole crazy ass pig farmer serial killer trend in Australia. I bet that's the beloved drink of Aussie Outback serial killers.
Blah.
Pig
but
milk.
Anyway,
nice warm glass of pig milk.
So you take the mare's milk and you let it ferment. You're still laughing at yourself.
Do they do this in like a stomach? Do they do the fermentation in a horse stomach or something?
Traditionally, yeah, and they probably because they also do have herds of like different other ungulates. They probably just do it in whatever the largest stomach is. Though, yeah, horses have pretty big stomachs.
Gotcha. I mean, that was basically nature's Tupperware for them, right?
100%. Yeah. And that's how the first yogurt and cheese was also fermented as well, because it's waterproof. It stays flexible. I mean, it's a really
and they
good
cooked
container.
in it as well. They would drain it and put in hot rocks and put a bunch of meat and stuff in there and cook that way as well.
All of that stuff. So yeah, so you would let it ferment, which is how you do yogurt and cheese as well. But then you would let it keep fermenting, so that that it would actually go alcoholic.
Mildly alcoholic, though, right? Like kind of like a small beer in Britain.
Right. Yeah. It's like a weak beer. And then you like
so
you
like
were
max
talking about
3% liquor is what we're thinking, right?
Maybe 5 if you're really talented, or it's like good spring grass or something that has a lot of sugar in it. So when you're talking about ackee, they would take the kumis and then they would distill it just like you would distill, say, a grain mash that had fermented into low wines.
Okay. They didn't even tell me what it was. I found out afterwards. You can't refuse a drink. You can't accept a drink with your left hand. You also cannot refuse a drink with a Mongol. And they had already torn my shirt off and thrown everything onto the floor that was on the table so we could arm wrestle. So it was just bowl after bowl of ackee while I was arm wrestling their entire crew. It was very fun. The Mongols are dope.
And that thing was kind of evident when Zing, looks Mai Ling dead in the eye and he's like, have a drink. Let's seal this deal with a drink.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, even for me, and I am quite an adventurous eater, and I love the Mongols, I would have balked at that lumpy mess.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to do it, but good Lord, that looked like it was going to kill you.
Now, and it would be lumpy, whether or not they would give you a bowl of lumpiness or not. I'm sure that sort of depended on some feelings they had. But, I mean, the proteins in the milk will coagulate and be like that. But all of the alcohol is going to be in the liquid.
And it is dope. You can get your protein from while you're getting drunk. Kind of like the Egyptians used to be able to do with their bread. But this it's very high in whey protein, I was reading. You'd think it'd be more of a casein thing, but no, it's whey.
Well, because they don't strain it. Like, they don't separate anything out. It's all of the parts of milk.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's sort of like cottage cheese. The whey that comes off of it, you can strain that off and then, like, compress it and make, like, farmer's cheese. And so that you'd have the whey proteins over here, and then you'd have the casein proteins actually in the solids. But if you eat cottage cheese with the whey in it, you get both of the proteins.
Yes, the curds and the whey. We
Bingo,
Little Miss Muffet.
There we go.
Yes.
So anyway, it's the kumis. You're not going to get drunk on kumis very easily. It's going to take a lot. It's like getting drunk on cheap light beer.
Yeah, except your stomach is now full of yogurt as well. Although that means zero hangover, because apparently hangovers are very strongly related to your gut biome, and so they've got this new hangover cure that is being passed in the FDA that is literally just stuff for your guts, and it fixes your hangover immediately.
That would be good, especially if it's like stuff for your gut, because a lot of people, part of the problem is like it does tear up your stomach lining when you drink a lot of alcohol.
Yeah. Well, it is poison. There is that.
Yeah. Yes, when you get drunk, you are mildly poisoning yourself. That's 100% true.
So back to drinking poison.
Yeah.
Mai Ling she's drinking metaphorical poison and literal poison when she is chugging this kumis. But she does it, and then Loooong punches a man in the throat on the way out just because he does not like that fat Mongol staring him in the eye.
No.
And he's also clearly very pissed that Zing killed all those people.
Yes, and he's like, you lied to my face. He's also pissed about that. It's like, Mai Ling wanted this. And he's like, no, you ass. Did not.
But then he says to the guy who got punched in the throat, the Zing does, be grateful for your pain. It means that you're still alive. And that's important because Mai Ling's going to use that line later. And we see that Zing was not too far off.
Yes. Okay, so we pull off, we have the Hopway doing security and at the Mercer factory, and Sam Blake just comes in with his little demon Buckley riding his shoulder to just go yell at Penny.
Yes, yell at the woman. Yell at the woman in her office. He's pulling her contract if she doesn't fire the Tong security.
And I just love it's like, I've been doing nothing and how dare you do something?
Yeah, and she's like, you didn't do shit, and so I had to hire the security. And he's like, no, you should just sit here and have your goddamn factory burned down, woman.
Yeah, and the whole thing of, like, you know, she was backed into this corner. Granted, her dad was kind of backed into the corner to, like, hire the Chinese because Buckley fucked with him and the prices and everything. But Penny is, like, she is super duper in that damned if you do, damned if you don't corner. She's made a contract with the Hopway. She has this contract with the city. But if she does the things to honor the contract, she's in trouble. And if she doesn't do the things to honor the contract, she's in trouble. She's like, fucking being a woman. This sucks.
Oh, guess what? I'm still a woman. Even while I'm running a company, still a woman. They're still going to fuck me just like a woman.
Yep. Well, fortunately, it's not only Penny who's getting screwed for kind of just doing her job. Toy's lawyer, Patterson.
Yes, Patterson, who just is a perpetual hangdog face now. He just mopes from place to place. He's scared of everybody. He's scared of O'Hara. He's scared of Lee. But he is most afraid of Atoy, who, to all, the Viper Woman keeps trying to, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I won't kill you.
I will never hurt you.
And he's like, I'm going to kill everyone who would ever hurt you.
But he's like, I'm not sure that makes me feel better. And the whole thing is like Patterson thought he was like kind of being helpful, but he was also clearly in it for the easy money. And you could just see it's like, who knew working for the Chinese could be so dangerous?
Meanwhile, this woman is giving him a lecture that is lifted direct out of a Lifetime movie and just flipped over. So instead of it being an abusive husband, like pep talking his battered, shattered shell of a woman wife, it's Atoy saying this to this poor little lawyer. He tried to make some quick cash, and now he is probably going to die for it.
Probably going to die, and he's not sure from which direction because there's so many options for him at this point.
And no one will help him.
No.
No one can help him. He could go to the cops and then get killed by a crazy swordsman that they can't catch. Or he can go to Atoy and be in the same position he's still in.
Yeah. But then we get to see police officers in action. Lee goes back to the bar that rolled him, and he is there to work off his early cocaine buzz? I don't know. He was ramped.
Oh, yeah. He walks in there, and the guy goes, need something, officer? And he goes, yeah, exercise. Meanwhile, he's already got the billy club out, so clearly he's going to fuck shit up. And then he just beats the shit out of everybody in the place until they give him his money.
Yep. And I will say, like, all things being equal, he did a pretty good takedown of the guy with the gun.
He did, but this man can't stop hitting his head. My God, he's got to wear a helmet. The CTE thing is real. He's going to be convicted in 20 years for raping a bunch of old ladies in a trailer park or something. Like, this is not good. It's not good what's going on with his brain.
No, he is not doing better. Hulu Who else is not doing better is O'Hara. He's wearing his police uniform to go do more collections, and he's looking around that Kellerman home, which has the same color timing as the inside of the opium ship.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that.
Like, it looks really drab and gray and dingy again.
Yeah, well, it's an Irishman who doesn't have a cop salary, so he is, he's going through it.
Yeah, well, and then he's also gambling what little money he has. And O'Hara, like, I felt like the look on his face was like, oh, fuck. If I die, if I hang Lucy out to dry with our kids, will be her life. Oh, shit, I can't do that.
Yeah, well, he also clearly realizes that if he wasn't a cop, he would be in this exact same position. So he is just like, he's trying to be the most ethical bill collector in the history of the world. And when this lady gets her tits out and tries to get an extension by doing what she had done with the previous collector.
Jack Damon, yeah.
He is horrified, and rightly so, because he's like, I'm just here trying to do a job. And she's like, yeah, but this is how the other job worked. And he's like, no, just Jesus. Just tell the man, tell that man, and he, like, try not to look at her like, have my goddamn money next week. And he was like running out the door, which I thought was amazing. I really like O'Hara as a character.
Yeah. So there were two things about that. Okay, so I was willing to buy she's possibly so poor she doesn't have any underwear or doesn't have underwear that she would wear inside. And again, by underwear, I mean like corset, stays, all of that stuff. But second, she has not had at least 2 babies with those boobs. No. Pointer.
Duly noted, especially not with the bra situation back in that time. It's just
exactly. I was just like, no, not buying it for a second.
When they were not in use, they'd just be slung over her shoulder like a backpack.
Like, I'm 100% willing to buy that. She doesn't have corset, she doesn't have enough proper underwear to wear it inside when she's doing laundry day. Like, fine, I don't care, whatever. But the other one, I take issue with.
IRL, it would have taken her 25 minutes to get her tits out. and a team of 6 people, possibly a horse.
Yeah. Well, if she is as poor as she is, the fact that she's not wearing her nice, like, going out underwear indoors, 100%, I buy that. That's real. I buy that. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've settled that.
Because who's going to help her get it on,
That's
right?
true. She has no servants.
O'Hara, I really felt like he was going, yeah, okay, I've got to be a better guy. I cannot let my wife end up like this, because if I do die, this is her life. Shit.
So you think that's what motivates the next scene where he goes in and he's like, I'm fucking quitting. Like, zing, look, I'm done. I quit. I've done it all. I don't want any more pay. That was
kind of...
Take my pay, put it towards that debt that I just tried to serve, and let's be done with it. And he's like, you can't do that. And he's like, fine, just shove the money up your ass then. I don't want that money. I'm just done.
Yeah, I really felt like that really motivated that. I mean, maybe I'm giving O'Hara too much credit, but I feel like the way that they actually connect the men's and women's stories in this series, I like to think that they did that.
I'll accept it. I will accept it.
So then we get a classic of its genre, the fundraising dinner of nice people eating nice food in a nice setting so they can raise money or at least think about the poor and less fortunate out there.
There's nothing like sitting down to a meal that would cost 100 people a year's salary to eat so you can discuss their plight. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate that about the billionaires that are out there. They put in the time. Oprah gave a whole $10,000 to Hawaii. Good things do happen to those who wait.
That's like her manicure budget for the month or something, right?
Oh my God, the money that she and The Rock gave to Hawaii, it was like, you lose that shit in the laundry. Come the fuck on. What are we talking about? It was crazy. But
anyway.
Oh my God. So dinner party culture in the 19th century, that was a really, really important thing though. Like, because we didn't have TV, they didn't have the radio then. Well, there was barely the newspaper at this time, and newspapers at this time were literal clickbait. It was just a couple of sentences. Maybe they gave you the person's name. They usually just described, like, this general did this thing. It was not very, so it wasn't very detailed. So they didn't have a lot of like entertainment. They just sat down to dinner and actually talked to people. It was a weird time.
Right. And so dinner would be easily 3 or 4 hours, including, sitting around before and coffee in the drawing room afterwards. Like, yeah, it was a big extended thing for sure. This one had tighter writing than most dinner parties do because we got straight to a bunch of the points and I loved it.
Oof. Nellie Davenport is a fucking beast. This lady is not to be trifled with. Woo, she's an animal.
But, we start off real fast with the man going, "Oh, Nellie, it would just be I would feel so much better if you could just go ahead and get married again so you're not off worrying about people who aren't us. Get back to
Yes. Going into those horrible places and dealing with those horrible people.
If you had a nice man in your life, you could stay at home and be happy, have a purpose." And she's not taking any of that. She's like, "I don't think women have to be married to have a purpose." And the guy, Wilhelm, is like, "I don't understand the question." What?
Yeah, but then she asked Penny for confirmation, and Penny goes right in, and she's like, "I get, I don't know how it is for all people, but I get validation from my work, not from my relationship." And staring right at Blake, looking at him like you're a fucking dickhead, and nobody likes you.
And Sam Blake is like, "How dare you slander me in front of my friends?" He gets on his like mad mustache.
But he doesn't have long to stew in his own juices because Nellie then drops a bomb in everybody's lap saying that her husband dropped dead sodomizing a 14-year-old, and she wasn't going to feel like the 14-year-old was at fault. It was her husband's choice to do that, so fuck him. She's going to try to help those poor women who have no choice in the situation.
I just love, she is clearly rich enough to be all out of fucks.
Oh, yeah, and then she says sodomize a 14-year-old in front of this old lady at a rich dinner. It was amazing.
She just rolls out the finisher, and she's like, "But I'm sure the men at this table here are gentlemen, and no thing like that would ever occur or befall to them." And Penny is doing the equivalent of the bullshit.
Yeah, they would never find themselves in a situation like that. Yeah. And then Penny starts laughing, and she says she doesn't even try to cover it up. She just says, "Oh, I had trouble swallowing that last bit."
Yeah.
When she's laughing.
I mean, of course, everybody can pretend she means the soup.
Yes,
but
they all know what
she did not mean the soup.
It must have been fun to do that verbal sparring in a way in the 19th century, but at the same time, my God, it must have been exhausting.
I was going to say,
like you're fighting everybody on 3 levels. How do you even keep track of that?
Because you don't have credit card bills, a mortgage, and 13 social media accounts to worry about.
Oh, yeah, I guess you got to fill your time somehow, huh?
Exactly. But then we get kind of the cool mafia movie opium delivery route. That was fun.
Yes. You mean with Zing threatening Chow?
Oh, no. Where they have the box of opium and they're like doing the distribution out of the wagons.
Oh, yeah, with the little boxes. At first I wasn't sure what they were delivering. And then I was like, oh, that's them handing the little envelope to somebody. But yeah, the little wooden boxes, they were such nice wooden boxes because we're so away from the idea of anybody handing another person a wooden box unless it's like, well, now you got to keep the box because the box is important. You know what I mean?
Because those were the same boxes they were putting in the broken down fireplace at the end of last.
Yep.
Yeah, and they showed the horse-drawn wagon as well. So, and I was like, okay, they are delivering major weight. Because these guys are shelling out like $200.
Well, I mean, the box would hold a lot of opium.
For the box.
So, yeah. I was just once I realized it was opium, then it's like, it's those little balls and it's, the little 8-ball things and it's filled with those, one would assume.
Yeah. But I felt like it was a great delivery route. They did a great job of showing like that this is a lot of money. And then you have the classic sort of high point of the episode, sort of Young June at Apogee, who's like, "This is going so well."
Yeah. Golly gee, we're all going to be rich.
Like, enjoy it, honey. uh, and then Awesome doing his little, like, opposite thing. Like, I'm not sleeping with Lope, but it's going to be easier if I pretend like I am. So, you know, smirk, smirk, a gentleman never tells.
Oh, yeah. Well, and because he is kind of a stud, so everybody must see that.
Yeah. So we finish that, and we start bringing on the doom, because Zing is here for your soul kind of pose.
Oh, yes. And, you know, when I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, Chow cannot possibly be threatened by this weirdo, because, Chow's got every trick up his sleeve. And I also, if Chow lived through Cuba, Chow can go. Like, there's anybody who's looking at Chow thinking he's soft in that top hat is a crazy person. When Chow starts killing people, they're going to have to chain him to the ground and keep him from stopping, right. I imagine. But, so, Zing threatening Chow, I'm just thinking to myself, like, yeah, well, that'll probably go badly for you. But he does point to how isolated Chow is. Chow is on an island by himself that he's created. Like, but he says, you're in this little bunker, you think you're safe, but you're not. And he does tell him, like, yeah, it's, Chow says, yeah, well, it's safer, but he even looks frightened while he's saying, like, it's safer to be in this bunker. So, yeah. But, so Zing's basically saying, you're going to end up working for me, and Chow is having none of it.
And that was a very sort of, like, doing the Genghis Khan thing. Like, the whole thing where, like, once the Mongols come in, they eat up everything. So either you work for me or you're dead. Was kind of the implication. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't really implied. He pretty much said it.
Fair enough. And then we get to, I don't know, the most darkly hilarious moment in the episode.
Lee is in full coked up Sherlock Holmes mode.
Oh my god, I was like, oh god, he coked himself up this morning, and Lee is going ham on a carcass on his desk in the middle of...
He's going ham on a ham. He's got a pig carcass on his desk, and he's just testing out various Tong weapons on it and taking copious notes.
And there's just blood flying everywhere every time he goes after this. And, the rest of the cops are just like, whoa. But nobody wants to go near him because he's a crazy man with a series of knives.
Yeah, a crazy man with hatchets and knives, and he's been hacking at this pig all night, and like by candlelight. He's got a crazy look in his eye. He's greasy as shit. Like, Lee's not a man you want to approach, but then that crazy Irish...
Yeah, Captain Flanagan is like...
He might be the greatest cop boss ever in any movie. Like, he is the ultimate, like... God damn it, you people keep destroying public property. He's the ultimate movie cop chief. It's perfect. And you can't even understand half the shit he says because he's so Irish.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. So we go from sort of the classic Irish cop stereotype to the classic security guard stereotype where they're sitting by the door, playing cards, and life sneaks up on them. It's young Jude and Awesome sitting by the door in the Hopway compound, and this wagon just rolls in with a bunch of dudes on it. And off the wagon jumps, hey, it's like another monk dude. He's got like a monkish looking necklace. That's what it looked like to me just in the moment. I realized later I was wrong, but that's how I saw it.
Well, actually, so the thing that he's wearing around his neck is, I think, a weapon that has been used in the past, because there was a god named Hanuman who is this monkey god of India, and then there's a monkey king in China who's kind of related, and so he always wore that. And so the guy who played this character, Chen Tong, this dude's awesome, and he is Zhuang, which is they're from like on the border with Vietnam in China. This is kind of unrelated to the thing, but it actually ties back in. So just stay with me. Okay. So these group of people are this really cool group of people, but because they're on the border with India, there's a lot of like influx of Hinduism and Buddhism all kind of blend in that region,
crossing back and forth. Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
And so he utilized that chain weapon that he's carrying around his neck, which is similar to the one Hanuman wore. But he utilized a bunch of different styles from that region in order to kind of put all that together. And they all happen to be the region from which, like, his family originally came, which I find fun. It brings awesome. It all full circle. But so that is a kind of traditional weapon. In the thing, he's using a combination of two different styles. One of them's a disarming weapon that was used as it was like a flail that they adapted in Okinawa for disarming the samurai and stuff like that. And then he used another steel chain weapon from China that was adapted into a necklace, apparently.
Yeah, but at the moment he jumps off the wagon, I'm seeing it as like the monk's necklace because it has that sort of look to it.
It totally looks like that. Yeah, he looks like a monk when he's jumping off
and
the thing. Plus, he's ultra
chill. Yeah, I could see on Asam's face, like, wait, there's going to be like another monk fighter? There's not enough room for all of us in this town.
Oh, and for anybody who's seen the live-action Mulan, that's Yao.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a really good wide-eyed thing, but we'll get to him in a second. First, we have to have the showdown between Young June and Father June, and Young June's like, I'm doing a thing here, and you're bringing in muscle from the old country. What the hell, man? Yeah,
well, he's clearly got his back up because he feels like he's already been found out. I mean, that would be my thought of being a kid who has constantly gotten found out before everything I ever fucking did. My dad always knew. And, he knows right there. Shit, he knows. Because that dad brought in this shipment of Chinese people from China, like, in order to be fighters. Like, these are not people they picked off the boat like Assam. These are people specifically sent over from China.
Yeah.
And, like, Father June escorts them off the wagon and says, oh, this way to your room, please. Like, these are people he respects that are going to come and fuck shit up. And now Young June is scared because he thinks, oh, shit, he knows. Oh, shit, I might get killed over this.
Yeah.
But he also knows the council doesn't respect him because when he tells the council to leave the room, they just look at him like, hey,
you're not in
go
charge.
Fuck yourself.
You can't tell us what to do.
Yeah.
You're my dad.
And, yeah, which is interesting because his father was deposed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but he's just, I guess, back in charge since he's back. I would have assumed that Young June was still in charge.
Except, the guys at the boardroom table, they've seen Young June, and he is, he's just this, like, mad little rooster just spitting at everyone, and they're like, not our style. Chill out, calm down, because the previous episode where Father June's, like, doing the accounts, and Young June comes in, and he's trying to, like, throw his weight around.
Yeah.
And I think everyone decides, like, no, you're too spiky. Shave down.
He's like the little chicken hawk kid in the Rooster Cogburn cartoons. Who's just trying to fight everybody. And he's like, let me at him.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, that's exactly it.
Somebody's just holding his head and he's just swinging his little chubby fists with his knives in him like, I'll stab them all. And it's like, bro, just calm down.
Yeah. So then we go back out into the yard and we get to meet Hong. And he's the one who had the necklace on, and he's got like that, just like wide-eyed. He is that guy. Like everybody.
He's a chatty maniac, and he's awesome. He walks up to the guy he knows is the biggest killer in all of San Francisco, and goes, "Hey, you got a light?" And Assam goes, "Yeah, here's a light." And he's like, "Oh, I'll need a cigarette to go with that as well, please."
And I'm like, he's already that guy, but then. He's also the one who always tells people, to make a friend, all you got to do is just walk up to him and just start chatting. It'll be fine. Because this guy, doesn't, all of the subtle stuff or the semi-subtle stuff Assam's trying to do, just, get bent, guy, get off my ass. Hong is impervious. It's not even that he doesn't notice it. It's like he can't.
No, he does notice it because at one point Assam says to him, no, I just don't like you. And he's like, no, that's fine. I'm used to that. And I really don't mind that you don't like me. I'm going to stand here and talk to you anyway.
That's what I'm saying. He can't notice it. Just nothing. You could even say the words to him. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway.
In fact, Young June says that to him later. And he's like, well, we're in the same gang, so I guess we're going to have to learn to get along. Here I am.
He's so that guy. Oh, my God.
I love him. He's amazing.
He was cracking me up. But speaking of people who just decide to make their own destiny, Sophie, she is back at it.
Sophie has her head uncovered. She's walking into bars through the front door. And then she goes into Leary's office and sees all of his secret plans, which are not too secret when they're posted on the fucking wall.
So there's a lot of romance novel just like happening all over this scene. Like it's ripped from the romance novels, but even all the way back to like some of the OG ones. There was some Scarlet Pimpernel stuff going on here that was just cracking my ass up.
I don't know what a Scarlet Pimpernel... I've heard the words, but I don't know what a Pimpernel is, and I don't know what that book is.
The Scarlet Pimpernel is actually a flower, and the whole shtick was that it was this Englishman in disguise who was going and saving the French nobles from the guillotine.
You know, I was certain it was about a French clown, so I could not have been further off. I was certain a Pimpernel was a clown. I don't know why.
Yeah, so if you want to get like the fast history version of the Scarlet Pimpernel, because it was one of those things that like it was originally a novel, it was a early romance novel, but it was made into like 19 billion black and white movies, but there's also a Daffy Duck cartoon.
Oh, okay. Why not?
But yeah, so she does. I'm watching this and I was like, well, they're going to have to get married. This is the second time they're alone in a room together. And I was like, is he going to smell her hair? Is Leary going to smell her hair?
Did he smell her hair? I did not even notice.
I didn't notice, but it doesn't matter because, yes, they are totally going to have to get married because clearly Sophie is pulling the romance novel trick where she's like, I hate where I'm living. I want my life to be more adventurous. So I am going to put myself into a position where you have no choice but to marry me.
You must marry me now.
Right. I mean, that is such a straight up Harlequin romance trope, like writ large. And I was just like, and Sophie's just the girl to do it.
Bodices shall be ripped.
Yeah.
Bosoms shall heave. Phalluses shall be turgid.
It's like, you're not going to rip this bodice. It took us too long to make, so cut away.
But there will be a turgid and quivering member somewhere amongst the parties.
Yes. So that was such like smashed together so many romance novels into one scene. I found it hilarious and enjoyable.
This show is like the perfect mix of like guy stuff and girl stuff. It's kind of like Grosse Point Blank. Like there's it's like the ultimate date show, I feel like.
With murders.
Yes, something for everything. Something for everybody, just like Grosse Point Blank. Which, if you guys have not seen it, is a phenomenal date movie starring John Cusack and Dan Aykroyd and Benny the Jet Urquidez and a bunch of other people. But it was a Minnie Driver is the love interest, and it was in the 90s. It came out, and it was an 80s throwback thing. So they were all like in high school in the 80s. It was a very good. He's an assassin who goes back home for his high school reunion.
Yeah, Joan Cusack gets her 5 minutes as well. It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Okay. So we do find out that young June does have a bit of a head for business. When he sits still and starts thinking about it, he's really sort of enumerating all of the ways this plan could go terribly, terribly wrong. Which
I might suggest is a part of the planning process as opposed to the critique process that should go on midway through the entire thing. You know, hindsight's always 50-50, but I feel like planning should happen at the start, not the middle.
Young Jude has some order of operations.
Yeah.
But okay.
He's divided before he multiplied here, I think.
So Assam, you know, he's kind of enjoying his role here, and he's like, buck up, son, everything's gonna be okay.
I will keep coaching you into disasters one after another.
Because he can do it for himself. Why not for other people? And then, Hong comes down the stairs and he keeps on being that guy. And this is where he's like, oh, it's okay if you don't like me. We're still in the same gang. So, you know, I'm here for you. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, are you just that guy? Or are you also a spy for Father June?
That's that's an interesting idea. I will tell you that this character is born from the mind of Chen Tong, so you would have to ask him specifically in order to find out. That actor basically created this character, and they gave him tons of opportunity to like do that. So he went into crazy training for this. He trained up to 6 hours a day doing like he was doing mobility training, martial arts, stunts, choreography, and then he had to do a couple hours of sports massage and ice baths after that every day. And he and the stunt coordinator just kept like working on his character, and he kind of built it out of different stuff that he's already done in his life, like Mulan. But these are the only 2 martial arts things he's ever done. So he took all of his character acting and put it into this as well. And it's such a fun character.
Oh, I love him.
He puts so much, because he launches into this fight scene, you see so much of his own character in it.
Yeah, I mean, because he's such the wide-eyed doofus, and Young Jun was like, okay, you're this other monk fighter guy, whatever. But then, when he's like, oh, is that the Feng Hai? And he's like, all right, let's go check them out, and just goes. Yeah,
and that so. I don't know precisely what style he's using there, but it does look a lot like the style that was used in Ong Bak, which is where I recognize that necklace from. Ong Bak is a Thai martial arts movie that everybody thinks that he's using Muay Thai or Muay Baran in it, but he's actually using this thing called Ling Lom, which is a Laotian style that it's like a monkey style, but which is where Hanuman comes from, and that's where you get that necklace being used. And so it's such a fun scene because he trashes all these drunk Feng Hai. He starts with a baton, and then he switches to his necklace, and he's using it to disarm people, to trap their arms, and then fuck them up. He is so much fun to watch, and he puts so much snap and attitude into all of his moves. I love watching him fight.
Oh, yeah, and he does definitely have that film-friendly trick of he does the move, and he punctuates it with just like a little extra hold of it. So yeah, he's a great guy to watch. And so you can see the disarm really quickly. And so he does the disarm. He uses, again, their own weapons against them. But my favorite part is when he uses the guy as a weapon against the other guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was so much fun. And he did that because he figured that as a character who's so skinny, he wouldn't be able to absorb damage the way that Assam does. Right. So he'd have to be evasive and use a lot of like blocking and evasive moves. He wouldn't be stopping stuff with his body. He'll stop it with somebody else's body.
Yeah, I mean, the number of moves and just sort of the way he sort of like goes through with the club at first, and he's like, yeah, I'm here, wake up, motherfucker.
Yeah, and he was totally flexing on everybody and showing Assam and Young Jun like, yo, I'm with you guys, I can get it. And they're like, yep, he's our new best friend.
Yeah, because at first they're like, you're an obnoxious little shit, but they're like, but you're a competent, crazy, obnoxious little shit, and all right.
And they wouldn't have seen that if they hadn't invited him along, which I thought was really fun. Like, he didn't think he was going to get the invite because Young Jun peels off, chugs all his bourbon or whiskey or whatever, and then Assam does the same thing, and he's like, well, what, are you fucking coming? And he's like, yay! Then he wants to show off.
Yeah. He definitely has a little bit of that, like, overwound football rookie energy, too. Like, I got to make a name for myself. But then he actually has the skills to back it up. And I think also Assam and Young Jun are like, it might actually be nice to have a guy along who you can't insult. Like, we've got the moody as fuck things covered. So maybe having a happy guy might be fun. Yeah.
At this point, we have the endlessly brooding man and the insanely short-tempered man. We could use a guy who's just a happy-go-lucky murderer in this crew.
Right, yeah.
Like, imagine Mickey Mouse, but with a hatchet.
No, that was one of the more enjoyable fight scenes, the most enjoyable fight scene in this entire episode, but definitely one of the more enjoyable fight scenes overall.
It's so much fun, and it really sets up how much fun it's going to be to watch the three of them go through everybody like a chainsaw in this show.
Yeah. Okay, so then we kind of get to the point where the Feng Hai are just out making a mess, and Loooong is like, Mylene, these guys are making a mess. Like, they're going to fuck things up for you even if you don't.
Yeah, and then, of course, she quotes Zing in her response to him and refuses to help, which I found insane. Because now this woman has pissed off everybody. Loooong is like, what the fuck are you doing, lady? Like, we need this man. He supports us, and, like, yeah, he supports everybody, but he supports us more than he supports everybody. And she's just like, fuck it, we're going to fight everybody. We don't need him, we don't need him. Everybody's replaceable. She's acting like Donald Trump at this point.
Yeah. Like, there's actually people who are like, this is going to come down bad. And she is doing Donald Trump. She's like, what? Nothing bad has ever happened to me before. What are you going to do? Make me? How are you going to make me? You can't make me.
Yeah, and then when he brings up that, like, well, you know, loyalty is an important thing, she was like, yeah, well, it didn't seem to help my predecessor. Meanwhile, it's like, bitch, you're the one who stabbed the man. Like, what are we talking about?
Details. She's like, she might as well have said, with me, loyalty only goes one way.
Yeah, and I demand 100. It's exactly like Donald Trump. 100% loyalty to me, and you guys can all go fuck yourselves.
So even if the Feng Hai aren't working for Buckley, they are accidentally on, like, the same Team Chaos for sure.
Yeah. And Loooong's feeling a lot like Rudy Giuliani right now, I imagine.
Except he has way better hair.
That is true. And probably way more money.
That's true. And Loooong can get himself out of a wet paper bag.
There is that. He doesn't perpetually look like he just peed his pants.
But somebody else who does not understand danger is Sophie. Because she's this fearless woman, like, walking the streets at night with this man she's not married to, with her head uncovered. And he's telling her, like, his shitty backstory. And it becomes clear part of the reason Sophie's so fearless is she's never had anything truly bad happen to her. Like, yeah, her dad dying or whatever. But she just ends up in another mansion.
Yeah, and I think that is something... Her like, kind of realization there kind of mirrors my own with realizing that, like, for instance, the rape statistics that used to come out in college. I was like, how in the hell are 3 out of 4 women getting raped? That means in a room full with 4 dudes in it, I'm the only one who's never raped a woman? How the fuck could that be true? That couldn't be true. That's crazy. And so I just lived in this fantasy land where I thought people thought like I did, and rape was not a thing. But apparently it happens 3 out. So I always was that one non-rapist in the room. And
You've got that. You've actually got that backwards. It's 1 out of 4.
What?
It's not quite as bad. It's not quite as bad.
I thought 3 out of 4 women had been raped, and so I was just imagining it was a 1-for-1 scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. 3 out of 4 is like some level of sexual assault for sure, but the rape is 1 out of 4.
Okay. Well, it's still a crazy amount.
Sucks.
Yeah, and I was like, well, goddamn, I have not beaten the shit out of enough people in my life. But Sophie is going through the same thing, because when you live with a certain level of security in your life, you don't even know that security is something that people need. It doesn't occur to you that, people might feel insecure in their own home. So Sophie's having this realization.
Not knowing they're in water. Sophie just doesn't know how safe she's had it.
Yeah, so then when she finds out that Leary watched his kid brothers starve to death in the middle of the night because they hadn't eaten in a week, and was actually sad but glad that they died because he wouldn't have to listen to them cry anymore.
And he doesn't have to what food they do get, he doesn't have to share it anymore, and he feels like shit about that, but it's also true. Yeah,
it's whatever bark soup they were having or whatever, because the English had taken all their food and burned their house down. The Irish had been through the worst things that anybody had ever seen, and Sophie has been through her father being mean to her and people yelling at her for not wearing a hat on the street.
Right. So, yeah, we do, and Leary's whole thing, the fact that he had to watch all of these people in pain, the fact that he sort of had all of these different feelings about it, you understand why he is so adamant about this duty of care. Things are going good for you, you contribute to the pot.
Yes, because like he said, you never know when it'll turn around. and the shoe will be on the other foot. And he has had no shoes and no food, so he needs everybody to look out for everybody.
Yeah,
and I think it does show, though, that in the same way that Sophie, because Sophie starts out by kind of coaching Leary into how to become a politician, and while she doesn't know shit about shit, she does know way more about that world than Leary does, and is useful in that regard.
Right. I kind of have my fingers crossed that they actually do become an interesting, like, labor power couple. That would be fun.
But it's crazy because now they're positioned against her. She's positioned against her sister. So the only two women on the planet who actually don't hate each other are now going to hate each other.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, Penny is going to be so mad at her. Like, she has so many reasons to be mad at her, for sure. But I will say that was one of the sweetest scene transitions in this entire series. So Sophie and Leary are walking along the street and the covered carriage goes by, and then we're inside the covered carriage and it's Buckley with what I have come to assume is a pre-dead prostitute.
Yeah, I had the exact. I saw her and I said out loud, "She's dead." Like, oh, she's dead. Yeah. Like she just got into a carriage with Jack the Ripper, and right? And then it gets way fucking weirder, way weirder. You say it. It's too gross for me to even say. I don't even understand why it's gross.
Well, the implied like horror evil of it is all it is, because you see Buckley and he puts on completely ahistorical like latex gloves. Like those gloves weren't a thing there.
Surgical
but again,
gloves.
like with how the women are dressing, it doesn't matter. It gives the message that bad shit's about to go down, and he puts like some sort of goo on his hand, and then you discover it's something for washing this hooker's hair.
I thought that was going to go inside of the corpse of that woman. I thought that's where that hand. I thought that hand was going into the soon-to-be dead or not or already dead corpse of that woman. But nope. He was washing her hair, with surgical gloves. Which is creepy.
The screwed up directions my brain was going. I'm like, it's much easier to clean the body when they're alive and cooperative.
Well, I was thinking like, well, he probably wants her to bathe because he thinks all humans are disgusting and he doesn't want to touch anybody. So she has to bathe before he has sex with her. But is he going to have sex with her corpse, her clean corpse? Like kind of from like that Jennifer Lopez movie from back with Vincent D'Onofrio. What the hell is that movie? It was gross, but yeah.
It sounds like something I wouldn't watch. That's what it.
She was a psychologist, and he was a serial killer, and he was suspended by hooks over the body of a newly washed corpse, having sex with it.
Blah.
Yep.
Blah.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Nope. Not. That sounds like a movie I'm never watching. Mm-mm.
Oh, but for anybody who's curious, so this show is set in the 1870s. We decided, 1880s.
Yeah.
And
1870s, 1880s, Chinese Exclusion Act. Yeah.
Surgical gloves weren't invented until 1890, and I know you said they were ahistorical, but the way they were invented was so fun I had to share it. So,
okay.
William Halsted is the notorious cokehead and opium addict who invented modern surgery. He saved tons of babies by introducing antiseptic procedures and obstetrics, but he ruined residencies, but he's the reason why people have to stay awake for like 48 hours at a time, because he was a cokehead again.
He could do it. Why can't you?
Exactly. He became a cokehead. Or he became an opium addict to try to get rid of his coke addiction, and then he just became addicted to both. But so he had a surgical assistant / girlfriend / nurse named Caroline Hampton, and she was getting horrific dermatitis from assisting in his surgeries because they were using a combination of carbolic acid and mercuric chloride to sterilize everything. Plus, they were putting it in sprayers and spraying it in the air. And mercuric chloride, what the fuck?
Hey, you know what? Cigarettes don't give you lung cancer fast enough, Jamie. So let's breathe in some mercury vapor.
Oh my God. But anyway, so she was getting horrible dermatitis from basically washing her hands in this shit all the time. So that's shocking, right? And and so he felt horrible about it. So he contacted Goodyear, and he had rubber gloves made for her specially, and then proposed to her with them. Aww.
Holy cow.
How fucking cute is that? I mean, especially for a cokehead / like heroin addict. Like, that's a really baller move. I have to give it to this man.
I will give it to him. I mean, It is definitely one of these things. It's like the gold ring in the mud puddle for sure, in the cesspool or whatever. But yeah, it's like, however, residents up for 48 hours. Like, cocaine. Come on, just do it.
Well, I feel like that's one of those whoopsies that the medical colleges could have fixed by now, but they seem to just not be interested in it. I guess, they probably get a lot of kickbacks from companies that make meth and sell it to kids as ADD medication.
I'm sure there's a fancier medical word for the version that they take so it doesn't rot your teeth.
Yeah, Adderall.
Ah, there you go.
Then we have more food. This episode's so much fun.
Oh, this was
Chow sits down with Lee Yong.
Yes, and they are like sharing professional information. There's a little tea spilling going in each way. And I really, really had fun with Wong Chow's like gourmet rhapsody of marinating the noodles in a combination of brine and cow's blood, which I was like, okay, that's, plausible, I guess. And then you find out he's totally yanking Lee Yong's chain.
Yeah, he goes, no, it's soy sauce.
But if you think about it, like, it's salt and fermented beans. So, it's no less plausible, more plausible than the other thing he talks about. It's just getting the cow blood supply would have been much trickier. Well,
and it demonstrates what an amazing salesman Chow is. That he could could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. Like, this man could sell. He could sell.
Yeah. And it definitely does show, like, I've always sort of been like, I've had one opinion of Lee Yong, you've had another, and sort of that stolid, like, just sort of following the rules. You're right. That's who Lee Yong is. He's like, no, I got on this path and I'm going to stick to the path because the path is safety, and don't make me think about it.
Well, as we were just discussing, safety was a very, very important consideration for every person on the planet until very recently, and it is still for a lot of people. But it's I can see how his rules would give him that kind of. It just kind of pet his brain. Like, he does. That's one thing off his plate. He doesn't have to think about anything new. It's just like, all right, I'll do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Chow's presenting him with this, like, that Sui Sing thing was crazy and shouldn't have happened. And Lee Yong's like, I didn't want it to happen, and that wasn't supposed to happen. And so then they kind of fade out, but that they're talking sedition among the...
Yeah. Lee Yong is like, I kind of don't feel safe anymore by staying on the same path. And so we pull out and we get to see the I Love Lucy and Bill comedy team at work. Oh, yeah.
O'Hara is now, like, enjoying his life. He feels good about himself. Yeah. He has nobility, and he is now he and his wife are trying to help Lee, because Lee has no family. Yeah. He's all alone. And so they're having him over to dinner every single night for dinner and trying to keep him from isolating himself so he doesn't turn into, like, the worst opium addict that has ever lived.
Oh, and Lee's kind of almost, he's doing the polite thing, I can't impose on you, but he's doing the, like, look, I want to be a degenerate laudanum addict and cokehead, and you're really cutting into my time. Yeah.
And then they basically said, your family, keep coming to dinner so you don't become a degenerate cokehead and gambler. And he's just like, God damn it, but thank you, but damn it.
Yeah. And so, he walks out, and then I had the moment where Bill is telling his son to do the dishes, and I was like, really, you have a little girl. This is not how things work. But it all makes sense in just a second, because, this was so well written. Unlike with Young June, where he's like, and everything's fine. I'm like, oh, you're doomed. I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, no, I didn't see this coming at all. Yeah, all of a sudden the Fong Hai have a knife to everybody's throat.
Oh,
so it was a nice setup, though, that Lee forgot his book, so he had a reason to come back.
Right.
Because, he comes back in and saves the day, gun blazing.
Yes, and, okay, this was such a different fight. I mean, from Hong's fight for sure, but just about every other fight that we've seen where it's real messy, people are falling all over, you've got, just all of the accoutrements of the kitchen and just daily life just flying through the air.
It was so well shot, too, because there was a lot of gravity in the situation without doing all the shaky cam bullshit that you had in, like, the Bourne Identity and stuff like that, where you couldn't tell what was going on.
Right.
They would change perspectives, but the way that they did it gave you the gravity of the situation. They kept showing the child up at the top of the stairs who the Fong Hai was trying to grab him, and he's just... he's up there, like, pointing a gun at this guy, and his hands are shaking, and he's terrified.
When he goes past his dad's coat, he pulls the gun out of the pocket, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's up there. Like, that is raising all of the tension in the scene. Like, there's, like, all of the people in peril in the scene, but they make the center of tension Ethan holding that gun at the top of the stairs. And you're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
And showing his perspective from the top, and it's like, oh my God, is he going to blow his dad's head off? Shit, don't shoot the gun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Meanwhile, Lee hits his head 6 more fucking times, so he's clearly, like, his brain is just mush inside of his head. He's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Oh, and they go past some flames a couple of times, so I was ready for, like, a curtain to catch on fire as well. Like, they just did so many good things to just keep raising the tension of this fight.
And then Miss Leary catches her first body in the most bloody execution of anybody on this show yet. There was brain matter splattered on the wall when she blows this man's head off. And it is badass. Lucy's a beast.
Yes. Yeah, that was a great takedown.
That was a badass way to end that episode. That was like a history of violence at the end, because it was so gritty and so, there was so much emotion, there's not usually a lot of emotion in a fight scene, but the way that they changed the perspective to the child on the stairs, and then Lucy's perspective, and then O'Hara's perspective, and Lee's perspective, so you knew that they were constantly going, oh, fuck, that's happening now, shit, and then Lee's getting stabbed, and it was just so good, so good.
Yeah, so many of the fights in here are, you're just sort of like, fight, 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 you know, it's fighters against fighters, and it's a very different emotion, or like, you know, this is just a good smash 'em up, let's go. But this one
there was a lot of desperation.
Right. This one had a lot of emotional weight, and I was just on the edge of my seat instead of just enjoying the fightiness of it. And the fact that it was such a messy, sloppy fight as well, I think was very in character to, like, this is emotional. It is not clinical.
Right. And it gave it a lot of, like I said, the air of desperation was really clear there. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So once again, using the fights as a storytelling device. Yes, like they keep doing that. Like in the first season, I felt like they were using people's fighting styles to sort of elucidate their personalities, and
this is the only time I've ever in my life seen that happen, where a character has had their character developed specifically through the style of fighting they use. It's amazing.
And Hong today in his episode, like, so much more of like just his maniacal, like, wide-eyed personality came out through his fighting style. Yeah,
they really put the art and martial arts in this. It's so amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So, we have reached the end, and I am dying to watch the next episode. Yes. This kills me, because, I don't want to have to go through watching an episode 6 times again, but, like, I might have to, because I'm dying to watch the next episode. Dying. Yeah,
so the next episode, if you don't see blood, you didn't come to play. I'm like, this is a fight episode. This has got to be
all right, I guess I'm just going to have to watch it 6 times, then.
If it's not a fight episode, I don't even know what's going on here.
It's gonna, and now we're gonna get to see Hong alongside our 2 boys. It's gonna be beautiful.
The 3 Musketeers.
And if they can drag Li Yong into that crew, it'll be like the Avengers of martial arts.
Or where is Leary gonna show up? But I can't see him fighting side by side. He's gonna be a versus.
I believe that what is going to happen is we have got to have Leary versus Assam at the end. Because I thought Leary versus Assam was going to be the end of season 1. Yep. But Leary has to be the big boss for season 2.
Well, especially after they did that, like, teaser at the end of last season.
Yeah, and we haven't seen him fight at all this season, have we? I don't think we have. Yeah, so it's like, is he out of practice? What's been going on? Except that, no, there was the one guy who was like, I might have been in season 3 now. Damn it. Nope, yep. I think that's it. I don't think he's fought.
But yeah, so the episode does end with Lee just looking at Bill like, what the fuck are you up to, man? How is this the thing that happened?
Yeah. Yeah. How did your house just get invaded by the entire country of Mongolia? What sort of thing did you do, sir? But that's because Lee's so hopped up on drugs that he has not realized that his partner works for the tongs that they're trying to prosecute.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got some self-involved going there. Okay, well, before we close this out, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on Instagram at Plague of Strength, where I post every day. I post stuff about mostly weight training history, but also martial arts history, different people from around the world. I still have a lot of really fun, like, LGBTQ stuff coming up. I just haven't quite figured out the way to tell the stories from vaudeville correctly. The gendering is very difficult.
And since, I'm sneaking up on that part of history, I will have a lot of fun watching those for sure.
And where can we find you? Because I need to wait. Well, why don't you tell us? Because I need to talk about something you were just talking about that was really interesting.
Okay, so I have my other podcast, The History of American Food. So you can find me on a couple of different places on the internet, Instagram and Threads as at THOA Food. And right now I am in that extremely belligerent and exploratory period between 1776 and 1815. So it's all wandering around the country and doing wars.
Yeah, and to everybody out there who is interested in nutrition, Greta has a fantastic episode on proteins, where she not only explains all of the basic chemical processes that go into building a protein, but also like about how cooking affects them. And it was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed that episode. And you talking about peptide bonds was amazing. And just like now I think of proteins as basically like origami of peptide bonds.
Oh, yeah. Proteins are super exciting. Okay, well, I'm glad you enjoyed that because I've got one on carbohydrates. So proteins was stringy. Carbohydrates is going to be sticky. And the fats is going to be slippery because those are sort of their different characteristics.
Nice. And I have written about lots of stuff, but I wrote in large part about corn for a little while because high fructose corn syrup was really in the news a lot. Mm-hmm. And I wrote about aflatoxins and how, like, Saddam Hussein was trying to create an aflatoxin missile. And so maybe corn was going to kill us all. Not knowing that in all of the research that I did not ever find out that corn is a complete protein because of one of the funguses that grows on corn. And that was so cool.
It's wild. Now, the corn itself, the B12 may not be accessible, but yeah, when you do combine the corn either with, say, lye to break down some of the chemicals inside, or you eat it with the huitlacoche, the mushroom that grows on it, that opens it up. So yeah, you have to treat the corn one way or another to make it a complete protein.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, so that is the enzymatic process that they go through to make matcha. Is it matcha? The corn?
Masa.
The corn? No. The corn beer where you have to chew it up and you spit it into a cup.
Oh,
and then the enzymes in your saliva are what? Yeah. So that's what unlocks those proteins. That's fascinating. Yeah. Yes. So basically, you make this beer by chewing up corn kernels and spitting them into a big barrel, and then eventually that turns into a beer.
Yeah, and that's not just done with corn. There are different traditional African beers where the same thing is done with different grains.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
So these are all things that we can eventually cover in Patreon episodes, right?
All right.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, have a great week, and we will catch you next week.
All right. See you later. You can find more of Jamie and how he can make you stronger at plagueofstrength.com. You can learn more about old American food on my other podcast, The History of American Food. We're on Instagram at PCG Podcast, and you can always reach out to us by email at pcgpodcasters@gmail.com. can find more dope beats like this one from royalraven.com.